After all this talk about desserts, I stepped into the kitchen to see just how one of the house specialties is made. But first, I wanted to know, how does someone get into the candy business?
Leanne, what made you want to get involved in the candy business?
Well, it's a funny story. I was on vacation in Italy, driving from vineyard to vineyard and olive grove to olive grove, and I actually came up with an idea for a wine accessory and started looking for angel investors to help me get this project off the ground. And I ran into an old college professor of mine. I said, "Do you happen to know any angel investors?" He says, "Yes, I'm meeting with one on Friday. Would you like to join me?" And I said, "Sure." And I asked who it was. He said, "Sam Jacobson." I said, "That sounds great. Who's Sam Jacobson?" And I didn't know that Sam had founded and owned the entire PDQ convenience store chain. So I'm sitting one-on-one with Sam Jacobson. And then he said he had been looking for years for somebody to start a candy company with. And he said, "I think you're that person. Would you like to start a business with me?"
Oh my God, that's
so
amazing.
That's how it began.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So I said yes. And so I walked into a meeting thinking I was going to try to start a wine accessory business. I walked out of the meeting owning half of the candy company, and I'd never made candy before in my life.
Great. Well,
So-
we love your desserts.
Well, wonderful. Thank you.
Not knowing anything about the candy making business, how did you learn about all of that?
Pretty much self-taught. My business partner and I are both foodies. My business partner loves to bake. I love to cook. And here we are, about 4.5 years later, at Chocolaterian Cafe.
And we are going to make a special dessert, one of your specialties here.
Absolutely.
What exactly are we making
We
today?
are going to make a Carmel Cashew Tart. And it begins with a shortbread tart shell, which we've already made and then cooled down. Everything is made by scratch here. And this we're going to fill with a number of wonderful, delicious things. The first thing we're going to do is a layer of coffee buttercream, a very thin layer at the bottom that I will spread out. Okay. And then this will get refrigerated because after we get this nice and level, I want to cover it with a warm caramel so that also makes a nice even layer. This needs about 10 minutes in the fridge so that this coffee buttercream can get hard so that we can cover it with the melted caramel.
So now we've waited 10 minutes and the pastry shell is nice and chilled.
Pastry shell is chilled. More importantly, the coffee buttercream is chilled, so it won't melt when we pour our warmed salted caramel over it. And we use warmed caramel so we get a nice even layer. And here we go. Just want a little bit. Want to fill in all the cracks. This is the easiest way to do it. We've tried a million different ways, and that's the second layer.
So what are we doing here?
So this is ganache, which is a French word for chocolate with dairy, chocolate with heavy cream. Ganache is also the soft middle of a truffle, and it's a ratio of dark chocolate and, in this case, heavy cream. And I'm just going to melt it so that we can pour it onto our caramel cashew tart. The next thing we're going to do is cover this with our warmed chocolate ganache. The same thinking applies here. We want this nice and warm, so that's going to give us a nice even layer on top. This is all about presentation. So the ganache wants to be shiny and thick and very, very smooth. So we're just going to pour it right over. Fill in all the cracks, fill in all the holes. Fill it right up to the top without going over.
Beautiful.
And so that shine, that sheen that you see across the top will stay. That's one of the nice things about working with this ganache, is that it's just got this gorgeous gloss to it. It's nice and soft on your palate. The caramel is nice and soft on your palate. We're going to put some crunchy things on here now just to give you a little contrast. We like to do things with contrast at Chocolaterian. Sweet and salty, crunchy and soft, because it's just more interesting to eat. So we're going to finish this with some toffee and some cashews. Okay. You might not have this much toffee at home. We do. A couple of pieces of toffee in the middle. And then some cashews around the outside. Cashews and toffee add a little bit of salt, a little bit of crunch. Goes wonderfully well with the flavor of the coffee and the salted caramel and the chocolate. And that is Chocolaterian's signature caramel cashew tart.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. Wait till you try it.
I cannot wait. So how long do I have to wait? Do we have to put it back in the refrigerator?
Typically we wouldn't refrigerate it now, but we would wait for the ganache to chill down a little bit because everything's nice and warm. But luckily, I've got another one for you to try.
I can't wait to eat it. Unfortunately, I'll have to wait just a little longer.